Tomorrow, Maryland's highest court may decide that the state's judges must stop setting bail amounts they know defendants cannot pay. It's part of a larger nationwide push to reform cash bail, which advocates argue unfairly imprisons poor people and props up a predatory commercial bail bond industry. Antonia Hilton reports from Baltimore on the debate over a deeply entrenched defect in America's criminal justice system.
Our target looks like the guy in that blue jacket right there.
I'll come up behind you.
All right, we moving.
These men aren't the police. They're private bounty hunters. They're hunting for their own clients. When people can't afford to pay the court bail, they turn to bondsmen. For a non-refundable fee of 10% of their bail, the bondsman will bail them out of jail. In return, the defendants agree to show up for court. And if they don't, the bounty hunters will return them to the authorities.
I think a lot of it is a misconception is that we don't help people. We help a lot of people.
Vinny Magliano is the president of East Coast Bail Bonds and one of 15,000 bond agents in the U.S.
I can't explain to you how many times we've had people in here hugging me and kissing me, getting their grandson out or their son out in trying times.
Every year, the bail industry handles $14 billion in bonds, which Magliano says help keep Maryland safe by deterring crime and holding criminals in jail. He and other bondsmen lobbied Maryland legislators against reform. Say you and I are both violent criminals, and we get the same bail, but you're rich, but I'm some lowly guy. Is that fair, though?
Again, it's the crime. If a person is rich and is a felon and he gets caught with a handgun, and a person is poor and he's a felon and he gets caught with a handgun, what's the difference? They should both get the same bail.
Here's how bail is supposed to work. After an arrest, a court commissioner analyzes the risk of releasing someone before trial. Options range from detention to release with a set of requirements. But in America, one option has trumped all, requiring cash bail. And it's a reason the jail population, meant to hold local, lower-level offenders, has exploded. On any given day, between 60 to 90% of the people in America's jails are there because they simply cannot afford bail.
We have people in jail in Maryland because they're poor, period.
Maryland Attorney General Brian Frosh sent a letter to judges in October, concerned that the state's bail system violates a defendant's constitutional rights. He asked judges to consider financial circumstances before setting bails. One of the main concerns you hear from some community members is that judges will be stuck with two sort of polar options: detaining more individuals than usual, or potentially releasing some dangerous people into the community.
Yeah, there are a lot of options between those two poles. If you think that someone is a little risky, make them wear a GPS device. You can bring someone in and have them take a drug test once a week, or just report to a parole or probation officer on a regular basis.
Attorney General Frosh says those alternatives would cost taxpayers between $250 and $10 a day, as opposed to the $83 to $153 it costs to house someone in jail. In 1992, Washington, D.C. reduced its bail system and replaced it with alternatives like GPS monitors and drug tests. D.C. judges say it works, with 90% of the people they release returning to court, and only 2% committing new violent crimes. Does this effectively kill the bail bond industry?
I really can't answer that question. My concern is not the health of that industry. My concern is justice.
That 5 days was the worst 5 days I've endured ever. No.
In 2015, Shannon Wise spent 5 days in jail waiting to make bail. She was charged with a first-degree assault that she denies committing. A judge set her bail at $100,000. Her family and friends pawned their belongings to come up with a $1,000 payment for a bondsman.
I've been put into a strenuous situation where it's just left the bill like, I can't handle this bill, I can't handle that.
The charges against her were dropped, but since then, Shannon has struggled to pay back her friends and family members.
Everybody's not always guilty just because that officer decided to lock her up. And they'll treat you guilty until you are proven innocent.
Prior to tomorrow's hearing, there have already been signs of change. the rate of bail set fell 26% after Frosch's October letter. But the rule change still leaves a lot to interpretation.
I'm not saying everyone should get bail. Now, they keep throwing poor around. How do they determine poor? If you ask me if I'm poor and I'm sitting in a courtroom, I'm gonna say yes.
And without additional pretrial resources, judges may still make imperfect assessments of defendants.
I think there's a lot of work to be done in Maryland even after we pass this rule. It could be an example to other states, but we're far from finishing the job.